The day before my wedding, my twin sister and I were kidnapped. My fiancé and parents racked their brains doing everything they could to come up with the ransom, but in the end they could only afford to pay enough to save my twin. Once she was rescued, she took my place and married my fiancé, acting as if the kidnapping had never happened. As for me, left behind with no one willing to pay for my freedom, I was butchered. The kidnappers cut my uterus out while I was still alive and dumped me, blood-soaked and barely breathing, on the street. Word of my fate spread quickly, and soon everyone in the city mocked me as a worthless, barren woman, a soaked ANC. Just when I had been abandoned by the world, my childhood sweetheart, Hubert Noteboom, rebelled against his family's wishes and married me. He treated me with love, cherished me, and made me believe I was his. Chapter 1. The day before my wedding, my twin sister and I were kidnapped. My fiancé and parents racked their brains, doing everything they could to come up with the ransom, but in the end, they could only afford to pay enough to save my twin. Once she was rescued, she took my place and married my fiancé, acting as if the kidnapping had never happened. As for me, left behind with no one willing to pay for my freedom, I was butchered. The kidnappers cut my uterus out while I was still alive and dumped me, blood-soaked and barely breathing, on the street. Word of my fate spread quickly, and soon everyone in the city mocked me as a worthless, barren woman. Just when I had been abandoned by the world, my childhood sweetheart, Hubert Noteboom, rebelled against his family's wishes and married me. He treated me with love, cherished me, and made me believe I was his treasure. 3 years into our marriage, however, I accidentally found a video at home. It was a footage of him performing a uterus transplant surgery. In the video, Hubert held my sister's hand tenderly, his eyes full of surgery. Once it's done, you'll finally be able to have your own child. Then the screen shifted. I saw Hubert standing over me, a scalpel in his hand. My eyes were blindfolded. There was no anesthesia. As screamed and sobbed in terror, he made the cut. Watching the video triggered a sharp, gut-wrenching pain, tearing through me from the inside out. It felt like I was reliving the nightmare all over again. My body trembled as I clamped a hand over my mouth, tears streaming down my face. The truth hit me so hard I nearly blacked out. So the kidnapping had been Hubert's plan all along for Neil. But if he had already taken what he wanted from me, then why? Why did he pretend to love me? Why did he marry me, making me believe he was my salvation when all along he was the one who destroyed me? A crushing pain spread through my chest. Just then, a chatus notification popped up on Hubert's still open computer screen. It was a voice message from one of his colleagues. Hubert, the amount of blood you've taken from Sophie this month is already way over the safe limit. You took her uterus and now you're draining her blood month after month. She's only getting weaker. I don't get it. Didn't you marry her to atone for what you did? Why are you still hurting her? A reply appeared on the screen. Hubert's words were cold and detached. I only married Sophie to keep her close. She's nothing more than a convenient blood source to help Neil's body accept the uterus transplant. I couldn't marry the woman I truly loved, but at least Sophie looks exactly like Neil. In a way, I guess I still got to marry her after all. A bitter chuckle escaped him, as if he were mocking himself. Anyway, enough of this. Neil is due in a few days. She needs more blood. I'll send over a few more bags of Sophie's tomorrow. More desperate messages flooded in. The sender sounded frantic. Hubert, have you lost your mind? You just took her blood 2 days ago and now you're doing it again. Do you even care that why? Chapter 2. Ever since we got married, Hubert had been drawing my blood every month under the pretense of routine checkups. And every month, without fail, he would arrange a lavish feast filled with nourishing foods. I used to think it was his act of love. Now that I had known the truth that he could care less about me, everything changed. I knew he was just making sure my body could keep producing enough blood for my twin sister, Neil. I let out a bitter smile. I don't want to eat this anymore. After a pause, I looked up at him. Besides, after all these years of checkups, nothing's ever been wrong with me. Hubby, can I stop the blood tests now? Hubert frowned slightly, but the look of displeasure quickly disappeared as he reached out and gently cupped my face, his fingers lingering as if savoring the touch. Baby, your body has been weak ever since your injury. These checkups are absolutely necessary. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. You have no idea how important you are to me. I won't let you take any risks. If the past me heard that, I'd probably would have been touched to the point of tears. But now that L knew the real meaning behind his words, my heart felt like it was sinking into a bottomless pit. Just as Hubert was about to feed me, his phone rang. He answered, and in an instant, his eyes lit up. His voice carried a trace of excitement. Baby, something urgent just came up at the hospital. I have to go. Be good, and eat all your supplements. Okay, hubby will check when he gets back. I nodded obediently, but the moment he walked out the door, I swept everything on the table straight into the trash. I then headed to the study, ready to copy the video onto a drive until a notification popped up on my phone. Neil had just posted on her social feed. What's it like to have a childhood sweetheart who loves you more than life itself? Huge thanks to Hub for booking out an entire hospital just for me and bringing in the country's top postpartum care team. Love every important moment in my life. You're always there by my side. So lucky to have you. In the attached photo, Hubert was holding Neil's newborn in his arms, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Around the baby's tiny neck hung the Noteboom's priceless family heirloom, a symbol of status and inheritance. For a moment I just stared, my mind blank. My fingers slipped, accidentally clicking on a different, hidden folder on the computer. A document popped up across the screen. It was a lifetime trust agreement. I, Hubert, voluntarily bequeath 90% of my assets into an annual trust, solely for the benefit of Neil and her descendants. A quiet laugh escaped my lips, half mocking, half bitter, as I wiped away the last of my tears. So this is what it looks like when Hubert truly loves someone. Despite Neil had given birth to another man's child, he was still willing to give her everything: his wealth, his devotion, his entire life. If that's what he wanted, then I'd grant him his wish. I'd disappear completely, and for the rest of this lifetime, he'd never see me again. After printing the divorce papers and scheduling a fake death service for the next day, I headed straight to the hospital where Neil had just given birth. The hospital room was packed with friends and relatives, all gathered to congratulate her. Neil sat on the bed, cradling her newborn, her laughter soft and sweet as she took slow sips of the nourishing porridge Hubert was feeding her. The moment I walked in, a flicker of panic flashed across Hubert's face. He quickly pulled me aside, lowering his voice. Baby, don't get the wrong idea. Neil's husband is overseas and couldn't make it back in time. She grew up with us. She's practically like a sister to me. I know you still haven't forgiven your parents and don't want anything to do with them, but Neil and the baby, they're innocent. Innocent. Hubert knew better than anyone whether that was true. I was about to cut him off and bring up the divorce when suddenly Neil, still holding her baby, dropped to her knees in front of me, terror written all over her face. She clutched the newborn tightly and bowed her head in desperation. Sister, I would admit it was me, Mom and Dad, who betrayed you back then. But please, I beg you, don't hurt my child. If you want to curse on someone, let it be me. Just me. My baby is still so small he wouldn't be able to take it. I frowned, confused by her sudden hysteria. Then, with trembling hands, Neil turned her phone toward me, showing me the screen. Chapter 3. Our entire chat history was filled with gruesome images of bloodied babies and cursed effigy drawings, all seemingly sent from my account. The timestamps spanned her entire pregnancy, but ever since I cut ties with my family, I had never reached out to Neil, not even once. You vile disgrace. You can't have children yourself, so now you're trying to curse your own sister. My father was the first to lash out, storming over and slapping me across the face. My mother's eyes burned with nothing but hatred and disgust. The room erupted with furious voices. I knew it. Women like her, damaged, damaged, broken, always end up twisted. Always end up. She's so venomous, she couldn't even spare her own pregnant sister. Exactly. A woman like this. His expression faltered for a split second, something like guilt flickering in his eyes. But then, as if shaking off a ridiculous thought, he quickly steeled himself. Sophie, stop this. You're making me question everything. Maybe marrying you out of pity was my biggest mistake. I let out a quiet laugh, wiping away the tears that threatened to fall. Hubert, you don't have to wonder, and you don't have to pretend anymore, because soon we won't even be husband and wife. Without Hubert's protection, the others wasted no time hurling insults, shoving me out of the hospital room like I was something rotten. I staggered into the restroom, gripping the sink as I tried to steady myself. Just as I started cleaning up the Door creaked open. Neil stepped inside, arms crossed, her posture calm, composed, smug. Gone was the trembling, frightened girl from earlier. In her place stood someone who had already won. My dear sister, how does it feel to be hated by everyone all over again? Pretty familiar, isn't it? Look at that glare. You hate me, don't you? Let me guess. You finally realized that it was Hub who personally cut out your uterus and gave it to me. And don't tell me you thought showing up here would make Mom and Dad feel guilty. Let me save you the trouble. They planned the entire kidnapping with Hub from the very start. They couldn't bear to see me lose my ability to have children so young, so naturally you had to be the one to make the sacrifice. Honestly, I should thank you, sis. Without your perfectly functional uterus, my baby wouldn't have grown up this strong and healthy. I stood there, frozen, as the words sank in like a knife to my chest. Tears blurred my vision. My whole world had already been shattered once, but this was worse. Everyone I had ever trusted had been part of this. How could you do this to me? Aren't you afraid of karma? Neil let out a sharp laugh, then pulled a small bottle of dark red liquid from behind her. Before I could react, she dumped it all over her legs. Karma? Sophie, if Hub didn't still need you as my personal blood supply, do you really think he'd keep you around? Face it, you were born to be beneath me, to have everything taken from you. So do me a favor and watch closely, dear sister. See just how far Hub is willing to go for me. Chapter 4. Before I could react, Neil suddenly collapsed into the pool of blood, her piercing screams echoing through the room. Hub, help me. Hubert rushed in, his face draining of color as his bloodshot eyes locked onto the scene. Neil, what happened? Neil clutched her lower abdomen, her face twisted in agony as she sobbed. Hub, I just wanted to talk things through with my sister, to make peace, but she said that since I was lucky enough to give birth, she'd make sure I'd never have another child again. She tried to destroy me. Hubert's gaze snapped to me, his eyes as cold as steel, his voice razor sharp. Sophie, how could you? Without another word, he scooped Neil into his arms and rushed her toward the operating room before whirling back and grabbing my wrist in a vice grip. Get her to the blood bank now. The moment we arrived, he barked orders at the medical staff. She needs an emergency transfusion. Take twice the usual amount from Sophie right now. The nurse hesitated, stealing my lungs. Neil was clinging to Hubert, her delicate fingers tracing circles on his chest as she pouted up at him. Hub, how did you know I wasn't really hurt? Hubert chuckled, tapping the tip of her nose with a smirk. Neil, I'm a doctor. I can tell the difference between cherry juice and real blood. His voice was low, indulgent. Besides, this was Sophie's fault to begin with. We were going to take more blood from her in a few days. Anyway, since she was already here, today it made sense to collect it fresh. Today it made sense to childbirth, running ice cold, elect it fresh. CC, it'll help you recover faster after. I stood there, frozen, my blood. When I was about to leave, I saw Neil's gaze locked onto mine. She smirked. Then, without breaking eye contact, she tilted her head up and kissed Hubert. Hub, you always take such good care of me, she whispered. The room was filled with broken whispers and breathless moans, soft, desperate, unmistakably intimate. I stood there, watching their bare bodies entwine, their movements feverish, insatiable. And then, against all reason, I laughed. Silent tears slid down my cheeks. Neil was terrified of water. She had never once dared to go near a pool, a river, not even a bathtub, filled too high. And that so-called protection charm around her neck, she hadn't earned it. She had whined and pouted until our parents took it from me and handed it to her. Wiping my tears away, I finally took my leave. I gathered everything: the signed divorce papers, the voice recording capturing every damning word, the fresh photos of their betrayal. Then, I handed it all over to the head nurse in Hubert's department. Pulling out my phone, I made a call. Change of plans. Come to this hospital now. With everything set in motion, I found an empty hospital bed, lay down and closed my eyes. 30 minutes later, Hubert stepped out of the operating room, rolling his shoulders. Remembering the blood transfusion, he headed toward the donor ward to check on me, only to find the bed empty. Frowning, he pulled out his phone to call me. Before he could dial, the head nurse came rushing toward him, clutching a small box, her face pale with urgency. Dr. Oatboom, you are white she. Dr. Noteboom, your wife. She went into shock from excessive blood loss. She stopped breathing. She shoved the box into his hands. Before she lost consciousness, she made me promise to give this to you personally. She isn't resuscitated soon, she'll. Enough. Hubert cut her off, exasperated. If you keep up this nonsense, you're pushing me to fire you. Sophie was always creating drama. If she still had the energy for such show, she clearly wasn't as weak as the nurse claimed. Without another thought, Hubert turned and strode toward Neil's room. Just as Hubert finished peeling an orange for Neil, hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. I thought we weren't admitting new patients today. How did someone end up dying from lack of treatment? A tense silence followed, then a hushed, shocked voice muttered, "Wait, isn't she Dr. Noteboom's?" Before the words could fully settle, one of Hubert's colleagues, someone who had repeatedly warned him, burst into the room, frantic. "Hubert, your wife, she's dead. Do you even realize what you've done?" His voice shook with fury. "I told you so many times. I begged you to stop, but you just kept pushing it." Hubert frowned, his expression darkening. "Are you seriously trying to pull the same stunt as Sophie?" he scoffed, exhaling sharply. "Enough with the drama. I know Sophie's body better than anyone. Besides, I've been adding imported, replenishing supplements, blood replenishing supplements to her meals every month. The amount I took today wasn't even close to the limit." His colleague trembled with rage and without another word threw a document onto the table. "A stunt," he snapped. "Then, read this, Hubert. Look at the name on that certificate." Hubert's gaze dropped and his breath caught a death certificate. Sophie's name printed in bold. The colleague doctor's voice was low yet filled with fury. "This is a legally certified document. Do you really think I'd joke about something like this?" The bold, unmistakable name, Sophie Henson, on the death certificate struck Hubert like a dagger to the chest. "No, this can't be real." His voice trembled, his breath hitching. Just then, his phone rang. It was much of an appetite today. "I just checked the trash and all the food was untouched. Should I prepare something lighter for you tonight?" Hubert's fingers clenched around his phone, his knuckles turning white. "The supplements. She never ate them." A chilling realization crashed over him. All the control he prided himself on shattered in an instant. His composure snapped, and then he ran. By the time he reached the hospital room, the steady, piercing, flat line of the heart monitor was the only sound left. Sophie lay there silent, still. No rise and fall of breath, no warmth left in her skin. Hubert broke. He threw himself at her bedside, hands shaking as he tried to resuscitate her, pressing down on her chest with frantic desperation. No, this isn't happening." His voice cracked, raw and desperate. "Sophie, baby, stop messing around. You hear me? You can't do this. You have me, I'm right here. I'll fix this, I'll save you." He kept going, refusing to stop, his movements growing more erratic, more frantic. The other doctors rushed forward, grabbing his arms, forcing him back. "Dr. Noteboom, stop. We tried, we did everything we could." One of them placed a firm hand on his shoulder, voice heavy with finality. "She's gone, Hubert. Let her go." Chapter 6. Hubert fell apart. For years, he had kept Sophie's body in perfect balance, carefully managing her health. Even if he had drawn more blood than usual today, it shouldn't have been enough to kill her. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. He clutched his head, refusing to accept the news until something snapped into focus. The gift. The one Sophie had asked the head nurse to give him. Where is it? The thing Sophie left for me, where is it? Already there. Divorce. Why would Sophie want to leave me? Panic clawed at his chest. He grabbed the phone beside the documents and unlocked it. A video began playing. The moment he saw it, his world collapsed. The footage was unmistakable, the surgery where he had taken Sophie's womb. His blood turned to ice. His hands trembled violently. Then the screen changed. The next image, a photograph of him and Neil tangled together, naked, in the operating room. She knew. Sophie knew everything. And worse, she had been there. She had stood outside that door, watching. A sharp, strangled sound escaped his throat, his knees buckled, his whole body felt like it was caving in. And for the first time in his life, Hubert broke. Regret consumed him, spreading like poison through his veins. And then it hit him. Sophie's red-rimmed eyes back then. The way she stubbornly refused to eat the supplements he had prepared, the quiet resignation in her gaze as she looked at him one last time. Sophie had already given up. Hubert's chest tightened, breath catching in his throat. How could he have been so blind? How could he have not realized? Sophie was already carved into his bones, entwined with his very being. His hands trembled as he picked up the voice recorder she had left behind. With a sinking heart he pressed play. Neil's voice poured into the silent hospital room, every word dripping with malice laced with venom. The confession, the mockery, the truth. A few seconds of silence followed before the door swung open and Neil walked in. Seeing Hubert's ashen face, she hurried to his side. "Hub, what's wrong?" Deeper, and Neil choked. "If you hadn't lied, if you hadn't framed Sophie for pushing you, if you hadn't played the victim so perfectly." His breath came in ragged bursts, his fury searing, raw. "I wouldn't have rushed to draw her blood, wouldn't have pushed her body past the point of no return. I hurt Sophie for someone like you." Hubert's voice cracked with rage. "This is all your fault, Neil. You killed her." The vows he once swore to protect Neil for a lifetime were forgotten, shattered, erased. All that remained was rage. Neil's feet lifted off the ground as his grip around her throat tightened. She had never seen Hubert like this before, wild, unhinged, terrifying. In that moment, she lost control. A warm, pungent trickle ran down her legs. The room reeked of fear. The second she was pried from his grasp, she stumbled back, then bolted, running as if the devil himself was at her heels. Hubert barely noticed. His world had shrunk to the still figure on the hospital bed. Slowly, he sank to his knees. "Sophie." His voice was barely a whisper. "I was wrong, I was so wrong. You saw it, didn't you? I just found out I didn't know Neil had been lying to me all this time. Please just open your eyes just once. You promised me. You said we'd be together forever. How could you?" His voice broke. "How could you leave me like this?" The other doctors moved in, ready to transfer Sophie's body to the morgue. Hubert snapped. He lunged in front of the bed, arms spread wide, blocking their way. "No one," his voice was raw, dangerous. "No one takes Sophie without my permission." At that moment the door swung open. A team of funeral personnel filed in, their black uniforms stark against the sterile hospital walls. They moved with quiet efficiency, heading straight for the bed. Their leader stepped forward, holding up an official letter. "We have been entrusted by Ms. Sophie herself to handle all arrangements regarding her passing," he said firmly. "Please step aside." Chapter 7. Hubert tried to stop them, but the signed divorce papers had already sealed my fate. I was no longer his to keep. Without a hitch, they took me away. 15 minutes later, a series of sharp knocks pulled me from the deep, trance-like state of suspended breathing. I opened my eyes. Everything had gone exactly as planned. This was the deal I had struck with the fake death agency. Hubert had destroyed me, ruined me, so I made sure he watched me die, let the guilt eat away at him every day for the rest of his life. That was my final revenge. From now on, the world was vast, the future boundless, and we would never meet again. After settling the payment, I watched as the agency's team prepared to leave, heading off to execute their next mission. In that moment I knew exactly what I wanted to do next. Before they could go, I reached out, grabbing hold of their leader. "Can I join you?" I asked, voice firm. "There are so many out there, people in pain, people at their breaking point. I know what it's like to reach the edge, to choose to disappear. I want to help them find a way out." The agency's leader held my gaze for a long, heavy moment. Then, at last he nodded. "Member of the fake death agency. Leave my past behind and start over." Leave. Features. He looked like a man who hadn't slept or lived in weeks. The moment his gaze landed on me, a flicker of desperate, disbelieving hope ignited in his eyes. "Sophie, I knew it. I knew you were still alive. If you didn't hear my apologies that night, then I'll say them again 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Whatever it takes. Oaks, I know. I've made mistakes. unforgivable mistakes. But it wasn't until I truly lost you that I realized just how deeply, how irreversibly wrong I was. From the very beginning, when the three of us grew up together, the one I loved was always you. But then, Neil saved me when I nearly drowned. That debt of gratitude. You might not believe me, but my real feelings, gratitude blurred my real feelings. It made me convince myself I owed her everything. That's why I hurt you. Again and again, I chose her over you. But now I finally see the truth. I beg you, please give me another chance. Come back to me, let me make things right. Hope flickered in Hubert's eyes. Yet, I only laughed cold and distant, shaking my head. Hubert, after all these years, you still don't know between Neil and me who can actually swim and who has never even dared to step into the water? You told Neil you loved her. Now, you stand here telling me you love me. But the truth is, the only person you've ever truly loved is yourself. You stole my ability to be a desperation. Chapter 8. I let out a soft, mirthless laugh. There was never a way back, because there was never anything real between us to begin with, I said, my tone calm but final. You built our entire relationship on lies and manipulation. The only person you've ever truly loved is yourself. Hubert's face paled. He opened his mouth as if to protest, but I was already closing the door. Just before it shut completely, his voice slipped through the gap, low, solemn and eerily certain. Sophie, just wait. I'll show you I can make things right. I didn't bother responding. I had no intention of waiting. Once he was gone, I focused entirely on my new life, immersing myself in the fake death agency's latest project. Barely a month later, the internet erupted with a shocking scandal. Neil had been exposed. The child she had just given birth to, not Hubert's. The baby was the result of an affair with their family's chauffeur. The revelation destroyed her sweet, innocent public image in an instant. Once a beloved TV host, she was blacklisted overnight. Her husband filed for divorce immediately, with nowhere else to go. Neil tried returning to her parents' house. But by then, the truth had already reached them. The recording I had left behind, the one exposing Neil's deceit and cruelty, had finally made its way to my parents. Only then did they realize that received a new request. But the location listed in the request made my breath catch. It was the exact place where I had been kidnapped years ago. A sense of dread settled deep in my bones. When my colleagues and I arrived at the site, my worst fears were confirmed. Hubert was waiting for us. This time, the one bound at his feet wasn't me. It was Neil. Her once radiant face was ghastly pale, her body little more than skin and bones, drained of so much blood. She barely looked alive. In Hubert's trembling hands, cradled like some grotesque offering, was a clump of raw, bloody tissue. I didn't need to ask what it was. I already knew. With wild desperation in his eyes, he turned to me, voice breaking between pleading and madness. Sophie, look. I took it back. I took back your uterus. I drained every drop of blood from Neil to repay you. His fingers trembled as he held up the bloodied mass, as if expecting me to rejoice. You see, his laugh was shaky, unhinged. Everything can be made right again. Everything can be undone. I've atoned, Sophie. I've given back everything I took from you. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to something disturbingly soft, almost tender. And now it's my turn. He smiled and my stomach twisted. I'll fake my own death just like you did. I'll leave everything behind. His fingers reached for mine, his voice gentle, coaxing. Let's go overseas together, Sophie. Just you and me, like it was always meant to be. Seeing the madness in his eyes, I felt nothing but quiet pity. But I simply took a step back, putting distance between us, and said evenly, our agency exists to help the desperate escape their suffering, not to help criminals escape justice. Outside, the distant wail of police. His voice was weak, trembling. With his final breath, I'm sorry, Sophie. This is my last atonement. With a heavy thud, his body collapsed to the ground. Dust rose, swirling in the stale air, and with it the last trace of our past finally faded into nothing.